There's restaurants who have 100 things on their menu. Well, you're going to need a lot of people, Yep. And that's the only way to achieve that, But when you have a simpler, more efficient menu that you specialize in, it takes less people to operate it. And it's better for the business, better for the staff, and you get a better quality product because you're putting all your focus on one thing.
Yeah.
Instead of billion things, you're baking bread, you're making pasta, you're making burgers, you're making, fried chicken, you're making tacos. It's just, when you have all those things, it just takes so much more effort to get it to that level of perfection.
Yeah.
When you have one thing, it's a lot easier to do it.
Hey, first of all, I'll speak for everybody and saying, hey, welcome, Chef Kevin Lee. Super glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
And, for two reasons. I love talking about entrepreneurship, but I also love food.
Everybody loves food.
So super glad that you're here. And I think, as a founder, right, being on the Food Network, we're just chatting about, you having a brand new restaurant concept, fried chicken, fried food.
Fried chicken. So the Birdies concept is a Korean fried chicken concept, inspired by Korean fried chicken. But when you go to Korean fried chicken or fried chicken restaurant in Korea, we literally have fried chicken and we have beer. There's nothing else on the menu.
That's it.
So to me, it makes sense. Oh, we have pickles also. Pickled radish is something we complement our fried chicken with in Korea, but that's all we have in a fried chicken restaurant in Korea. So it makes sense to me, like, hey, I'm going to pair Korean fried chicken with all the accoutrements that Oklahoma people love to eat, right? Like fried okra, like biscuits, mac and cheese, coleslaw. So everything that we all love to eat fried chicken with, but pair with a Korean fried chicken.
So it's a Korean fusion with Southern food, comfort food.
Yes.
That is so cool. I love that idea. Well, you're a couple of steps away. Yeah.
Yes. We're very close. We're about a week or two out, just waiting on a couple inspections. So it's been a stressful time, but it's getting close. So we're all excited to get this business going.
Well, the good news is this isn't a first time for you. So tell me about, tell me a little bit about your history as a chef, right? And, how you came to stardom with Guy Fieri.
To me, like growing up, I always loved food. Food is something that I always looked forward to, that always excited me, that always, something I always enjoyed, right? Like when I'm eating breakfast, I ask my mom, what's for lunch? When I'm eating lunch, I ask my mom, what's for dinner? I'm always like looking forward to the next meal. So food was something that I always loved as a kid and that I always enjoyed, but like being a chef was not something that never crossed my mind, because like when I was, I'm not that old, but like even 20 years ago, like if you wanted to be a chef, is something you couldn't tell your guy friends, like, hey, I want to be a chef. Like that's something you just didn't say, just something you kind of kept it to yourself and like secretly working on some recipes at home. And when nobody's home, like pulling out the steak that's been in the freezer and just playing with it. That was something I enjoyed, but just never crossed my mind. It could be a professional chef at one point in my life. It just never crossed my mind. And when I went to Vegas, I went there as a hospitality management undergrad over there, and cooking class was one of the requirements, because as being in a hotel, just you had to take a cooking class. And that when I took that class, I was like, man, this is so awesome. I get to do this, I get to use a knife, and like I got to do all these things I was seeing on Food Network that Emerald Lagasse was doing, or like Rachel Ray was doing. I was having so much fun, and I just blew my mind,
Guilty pleasure showing up at school.
But then I walked into the restaurant like, can I be a busboy? I'll do anything, And the chef at the time, June Choi, who used to be the executive chef at Nobu Beverly Hills in California, he was offered me a job. Hey, you should be a prep cook. I'll pay you $900 a month. I was like, as an 18-year-old, that seemed like a lot of money, but it wasn't. But I showed up every day, and I really enjoyed it. Like I could have made more money being a server, being a busser, but something about being in the kitchen and being in the trenches every day, it really I really loved being there, and like I really truly enjoyed it. So I just kind of took that, and from there on, I just never stopped. I became an executive chef at Mandalay Bay, and at the age of 21.
Wow.
And because Japanese food is very, very simple, right? You learn a technique, and you basically use that one technique to do a lot of different things. And I was always very good with my hands growing up, and Japanese cooking is more about hand technique more than actual being able to cook.
Okay.
So it really I really thrived in that setting. And, even though I was young, I was responsible and I was working hard. So I got an opportunity to take that job, and I really enjoyed it. But once I got to a point and realized like I'm not learning anything. Like I'm too new at this to be
you need the
a
progression.
boss. I need a progression. So, and being in Vegas, I just knew that was not where I wanted to be.
And you can explore a lot of food in Vegas.
So, and my cousin at the time who lives in Oklahoma City, he's in the real estate business, but he was like, move to Oklahoma. This is where it's at. Like, it's a growing city. There's a lot of opportunities. So I moved here and opened up a small little burger place in the Robinson Renaissance building in downtown Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a basement. It's a food court in a basement, and I was selling like soft shell crab sandwiches. I was selling like mozzarella stuff, like pork cutlet sandwiches and burgers. And, I was doing all these things that, people were just like, what are you doing? It's like, it's Oklahoma.
I'm trying stuff.
But, that really doing those things, I got a little bit of recognition from local riders, and eventually joined the Coach House program, at the apprenticeship program at the Coach House in Nichols Hills, which is Kurt Fleischfresser is like kind of the godfather of Oklahoma chefs, and a lot of chefs trained under him. And I've been lucky enough to work work as an apprentice under him, but also work with him as executive chef at Bass after my apprenticeship program, and kind of help me, guide me through my culinary career.
Oh, that's awesome.
After that, then joined the Jones Assembly Group, being a culinary director for a fast casual taco concepts, and like Jones Assembly concept, and little cheesesteak, so I got to experience a lot of the business side of things, and see
they're a great restaurant,
and see how operations should be like, because chefs are great at making food, but we're not always the best at the business side of things. So I got to see how business works, and like how what makes a restaurant successful, right? Because I feel like a lot of people just don't really even understand what makes a restaurant successful, because they feel like, oh, I have a set of skills, I know how to make great food, or I have a great concept, but you have to be great at so many different things for it to come together. So
it's good. A lot of lessons along the way.
Yeah. So,
what lessons did you learn from Guy Fieri?
Guy Fieri is a great, great guy. You see him on TV, and that's exactly him in real life.
That's amazing.
And Guy Fieri, when I first went on Guy's Grocery Games, I honestly was like, do I really want to do this? Because, Guy Fieri has become this iconic guy on Food Network, but he always he wasn't a serious guy. He's always supporting mom and pop restaurants, but he wasn't like getting a lot of respect from like serious chefs.
Yeah, it's not like how Wolfgang Puck shows up, or how Emerald shows up.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. It's different, because he's a chef, but he's not like a chef at a level where it's fine dining chefs are working at. But during the pandemic, he did so much for the industry. I mean, he raised 20, 30, $40 million for just the restaurant industry. And that really changed everything, and people really got to see like who he is as
He's
a
member
person,
of the community,
who he is as a person, and like what he did for the community. And now you see Food Network, I mean, Tournament of Champions. I mean, they have all chefs from, French Laundry. I mean, every top chef alum that you can possibly think of, they're all like they're all Guy Fieri's guys now, and they're all coming together and building an even bigger community now. And it's really great to see it come together.
Well, there's caring about food, right? There's caring about business and entrepreneurs, and then there's actually doing something about it.
Yeah.
That is where he really showed up.
Absolutely.
Right, during the pandemic. Well, yeah. So 2-time Food Network champion.
Beef battle champion.
And
it's ironic.
What does that feel like? Do you have trophies?
I have trophies. I got a little belt, but like, because we're in Oklahoma, because we're one of the biggest beef producers in America, so it's like it's cool to say like, hey, I'm from Oklahoma City, down the street from the stockyards, and I'm the beef champion, so it's just, something that I think is really cool, and been lucky enough to be the champion of the beef champion of the Food Network.
Has it got you into cool places?
Not yet.
Do you carry the belt around?
No. Like, I'm still a very, I'm not, like my friends know me, but like to me, I'm still a small guy. I'm not, people don't recognize me. It's nothing like that yet. Yeah. But it's been fun, and just to, be the beef champion, in Oklahoma. So
yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's, that those accolades matter, and hopefully you'll be able to translate some of that into, with what you're about to do with Birdies. It's a big deal.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk about the restaurant concept and talk about entrepreneurship, because I do think you're talking about something that a lot of talented, skilled people go through, where they're like, I have a passion to do X.
Yes.
Cook. I have a passion for food. I have a passion for retail clothing. I have a passion for all of these different kinds of things. And we're consumers and we experience all these businesses.
Yes.
But I think that the gotchas and the surprises are in the behind the scenes of running the business, right? So, I do think it would be important to just kind of, I don't know, hear from you about some of the struggles, some of the lessons, some of the surprises, right? That you've kind of had along the way in your entrepreneurial journey. Like, I'm a marketing guy, so like, branding's a big deal, right? So what are some of the surprises that you're like, hey, here's some things to watch out for, some things you didn't maybe think about?
To me, like the most important things, when it comes to restaurants is, first, what the concept is, what price point are you going to be at, what is the branding going to look like, and how the branding is going to, integrate with the interior design and the location. All these things matter so much. And, some locations do well in downtown settings where it's a destination restaurant, right? Like you have a fancy steakhouse. You want to be in an area where, there's other bars around, and there's other things to do because they're going to go do something after dinner.
It's true.
But when you're doing a family restaurant, you don't want to be downtown because no parent's going to go pick up their kids from school and go back down to downtown and eat, So depending on who you are as a restaurant, it really matters where you are. If you're a quick lunch spot, you want to be next to hospitals, big corporate offices, and, in that kind of area. But, it all depends on who you are. You know? And I feel like people just see, high traffic count, that's a great location.
Yep.
But, sometimes those cars never stop. They're just going by, So just really knowing like what you're going for and who you are as a restaurant, like what price point are you, so all those things really matter. If you're in a family area, if you're a family restaurant, you want to have affordable items for your kids. You want to have, because you want it to be affordable. When you're going out as a family of 4, 5, or 6, every dollar counts. Between $12 and $15, it's a huge difference, because you multiply by that 6, it's $20 difference for a family, who are in the middle class in the suburbs. That's a lot of money if you're eating out all the time. So like recognizing what the needs are and all those things, all play together. So I just think those 5 things have, things I've missed in the past. When my previous restaurants I've opened or consulted, or, and just learning along the way, just every little thing that you've made mistakes in the past and fixing them and being aware of those things, because a lot of people, I feel like my business isn't doing well. Why is that? Oh, it's tax season, or it's the weather, or it's this or that, and not really looking at themselves as a business and, hey, there's a big old, there's kind of smells in here, or, there's cords hanging down from the ceilings, or like every little thing counts, right? And trying to make everything perfect, but, always making excuses for the business, for the people, and you just got to have a lot of self-awareness of, and make quick changes, and not just, hey, maybe, it'll happen, but you got to think quick on your feet, because when the restaurant starts going down, it can go down around. It's hard to turn around.
I mean, I would say a big lesson, right? And what I'm sort of translating some of what you're saying is first impressions matter. don't make assumptions,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? About what, and rushing based on an assumption and designing a concept around something that you believe without being objective, right? And if you can be objective, that brings out the self-awareness and the self-reflection about, hey, instead of just trying to prove that my restaurant's great and trying to convince everybody of that, why don't I actually do all of the things that are required to get people to have the right impression?
Yeah.
That's good. Well, let's break down branding for just a second, because I think a lot of it is, you talked about, we can talk about brand for just a second. It's a passion of mine. But you got the logo, the website, right? The way things look, the way things feel, right? And that's what a lot of in the concept needs to be a reflection of the brand.
Absolutely.
Right? So what are some of the gotchas there? How do you kind of go and get that work done? Do you have people around you, or is this something you kind of originate on your own?
I think there's definitely people who are capable of doing it on their own, and I think that's a whole nother thing of like self-awareness of like, hey, like, does this look professional? Because anybody can really make a logo, right? Just make it look good and, make it colorful and a little bit unique. But there's a reason there are professionals who do branding and marketing, because it's a trade, it's not something that anybody can do. And it's a profession, and when there's a profession, it's a profession, there's a reason it's a profession,
True.
And so I have a team that a guy I use, he's a branding guy. He's done a lot of great local concepts, but it just, branding, it's not just a logo, right? Because a lot of people think branding is just, name and a logo. You just pay for the name and a logo, but it's just so much more than that. It's like, how do you integrate that to packaging, the interior design, even silverware, what kind of cups you use? It all ties in together as a brand. It doesn't look like you slapped it together. You just made quick decisions, because every little detail counts. And to me, like, even the to-go menu, the website, it all has to flow together.
It's got to feel like it's the same thing.
It's all same thing.
Yeah.
Even the sign on the door that says open hours. It just, when you do it right, it looks like, you put yourself in a different level from people who are taking shortcuts or not spending time to even think about those things. Yeah. So like, because when somebody walks into a restaurant, it has to feel like, to me, even if you're a local brand, like, it should feel like a chain, like somebody created, like, hey, this is
somebody curated the whole experience.
Create the whole experience instead of like, here's the food, and here's your water, and
it can't just be
if you don't like the food, I don't know, it's got to be the whole experience, because food is just a small part of the restaurant experience, and it's a big part of it, but when people want to feel welcome, people want to feel like the vibe has, if the people who are serving you is having a bad time, how can the guests have a good time when they're there? Like, oh man, they're being really rude when they're taking my order, and it just doesn't feel right, So it's like, when people walk into a restaurant, you instantly start judging. Oh man, I'm like, I've been waiting 3 minutes anybody even like just even say hello, or you get sad and you don't even get any menu for like 5 minutes and you're already turned off by it. So it's like,
there's a lot for us to compare. Because we have these experiences all the time.
Because you eat every single day. People go out almost, especially these days. I feel like after COVID, people go out to even eat more because they realize, man, I can't cook.
Let's not do it.
So it's just like, people have so many things to compare to. So it's a hard business, but it's a very honest business, right?
Oh, that's great.
If you really know what you're doing, if you really recognize and you look at yourself in honest ways, it's a very honest business. If you really on top of your game, people are going to come back, and people say restaurants are hard, but I bet you McDonald's don't think it's hard. I bet you Olive Garden don't think it's hard. I bet you Chick-fil-A don't think it's hard. Obviously,
they love it.
They love it. They're making billions of dollars doing it. So if you really know what you're doing and you can replicate it, if you can do it repetitively, consistently, that's so important.
That's good. Well, something that we're kind of hinting at, right? And something that you're talking about is like this branding to identity. And one of the ways that I try and articulate this and the way that we do marketing is, that's kind of like a pulse. You got what you believe, how you think, how you act,
Mhm.
how you speak, and then how you show up or how you appear.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that the branding is kind of how you appear and how you speak, or the name and
Mhm.
stuff like that. But as it relates to identity, there's the concept, which is the food, the pricing, right? The customer, really understanding that customer and stitching all that together
Mhm.
with that brand pulse, what you believe, how you think, how you act, how you speak, and how you appear. So talk to me about how that translate to the concept and the overall vibe in the way that you kind of design businesses.
So Birdies is, to me, it's more of a family restaurant, right? This is where you want to go, take your family out and just kind of have a good time. Because fried chicken to me is a family experience. The KFC commercials back in the days, right? It's all about sitting together as family, passing the chicken bucket around, passing the bread basket around. That's what fried chicken is all about, So I want to really create that family environment, right? So it's more colorful, where kids are inviting, a lot of fun colors and big murals that could represent community and family, and just really tying it all together, make it feel like where you want to take your family and just hang out, and it almost feels like a picnic, but it's very modern and fun, and somewhere you just want to hang out.
Yeah, it's awesome. The togetherness factor.
Yeah,
I like that, and that's an overall vibe,
yes,
right? As it relates to the identity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so that matters for the price point. So if you decided on your audience,
yes,
which is family, you were like, okay, am I going upscale or am I going downscale? It's like probably not upscale, right?
It's definitely not upscale. We're a very casual restaurant, and my biggest goal was, as a fine dining chef, I could never tell my friends, hey, come check this dish out and pay $70 for it. It's not something you can do. I want to be able to offer my set of skills to the masses, and that whereas, they don't have to feel like they have to pay money for it. So we have $10 chicken baskets, we have $12 chicken, like on our lunch menu, nothing's more than $12. Everything's $10 to $12,
That's awesome. So awesome.
And when they come in for dinner, it's more about almost, you think of it as a steakhouse experience. So you can get your small drumsticks, which will have like 3 pieces, right? And it'll be $10. But if you want fries or okra, mac and cheese with that, you can order it as a single side or a shareable side. So it's more of a sharing experience, But you can come in and spend little as $10 if you want, but if you want to have a full experience and have a good time, we have champagne on the menu that you can order, and we have all of these different things, but I want to be able to give an opportunity for everybody to come in and enjoy what I've created.
That is a super cool experience, and it seems that you've really threaded it all together. It's a departure from being a beef champion to chicken. Let's just be real about that. But let's just talk about location. We talked a couple of minutes ago about, high traffic and all that kind of stuff. And what are some of the surprises or some critical considerations on that?
Parking is huge. Because in Oklahoma, and smaller city people don't like to walk, and just something, parking is something, when you're downtown and that area it can be very challenging, because if you can't park, you're not going to come in. It's something like people like, we're going to be so good that it won't even matter, but just something as a restaurant owner, that's, to me, parking is huge. But also, depending on what who you are, like I said, you want to be in different areas. For us, you're more family casual. So, we're in the suburbs where, it's close to residential homes and, but a steakhouse could be downtown, but location wise, it also matters of like who's around you, because it always creates that synergy of when you have more restaurants that are successful around you. Most people think that actually hurts you, but you really want to be in an area where everybody is successful, because it really creates that synergy. That's where I want to go hang out. Hey, they could come in and have an appetizer at my restaurant, but go have a drink at the other restaurant and come back for desserts, but it kind of creates that synergy of where people want to go hang out.
That's why these clusters happen with retail shops. And then, you've got restaurants nested throughout there. And then these clusters really matter. If you're sort of, off on a corner lot, in the suburbs, it's like it's a special drive, and people aren't necessarily thinking about you, right? You've really had to design a brand or have to have multiple locations for somebody to go, oh, let's go to the one that's kind of farther away. So that's why the clusters really matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, talk to me about restaurant design, because you're in the midst of this new concept coming to life. There's the experience when people arrive, and then there's the employee experience as well. So talking about some of the design work and how you get things to kind of flow together.
To me, restaurant design matters so much because it's the efficiency matter, because you have to be efficient as you possibly can, because restaurant business is not a big margin business, right? It's a very small margin business. You're trying to maximize your profits every way possible. But if you have an inefficient space, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, because it might take 2 or 3 more employees to operate that business if you don't have it efficiently designed. And that's a lot of money. Even if that one person makes $30,000 a year, that's $100,000 at the end of the year, so every little
for a design mistake,
so the way I designed the Birdies is, where the servers come into the kitchen and how they go out is very important, because, if the dishwasher's in the corner of the kitchen, they have to go in and take 20 extra steps just to drop off a dirty dish, then come back, and, then you're going over there to get, the to-go bags, and you're going to multiple different places just to do one task, so to me, it's just all about, putting the dish area where it's going into the kitchen, so the dishes get dropped off immediately, and putting the server stations right around the corner, so as soon as they drop off the dirty dish, they go to the refill of the sodas or refilling the ice. On the outdoor is where the expo is, to pick up the food to go out. So the way I have it designed in Birdies, you go in this little circle, and you're in, drop off, pick up stuff you need, and you go out. So you don't really have to go anywhere else that's unnecessarily,
and you got to tell all of your employees, hey, consolidate your trips.
Exactly.
And if you're consolidating your trips, they know that they're going to do 2 or 3 drops on the circle, right? They're going to grab food on the way out and things like that. And the outcome of that great design is really table turns.
Exactly.
You get more table turns, or you have low wait times, right? And things like that, which means you can fit more people in the restaurant, but then turn them, and if you don't have these long queues or people waiting to get in the restaurant. No. So that creates a customer experience where they are like, hey, it wasn't a long wait. It actually went really well. The food was really good, and they want to come back. And so then you get a repeat business. Absolutely. So that flow really matters.
And it takes less employees to operate, then I can pay my employees more instead of having to pay 3 more people. You know what I mean? So the less employees I have, the more I can pay also to my guys.
Yeah.
And to me, even the kitchen is you design it so everything's within reach. If you're in a station, you shouldn't have to ever take more than 2 steps from that station, and design it exactly where it needs to be, so 3 or 4 guys can operate a $2 million a year restaurant. And you can only do that with efficient design of the business and efficient design of the space also. Because there's restaurants who have 100 things on their menu. Well, you're going to need a lot of people, and that's the only way to achieve that, but when you have a simpler, more efficient menu that you specialize in, it takes less people to operate it. And it's better for the business, better for the staff, and you get a better quality product because you're putting all your focus on one thing. Instead of billion things, you're baking bread, you're making pasta, you're making burgers, you're making, fried chicken, you're making tacos. It's just, when you have all those things, it just takes so much more effort to get it to that level of perfection.
Yeah.
When you have one thing, it's a lot easier to do it.
And then once you've tweaked it out, you're like, hey, I can go stamp and repeat this in a similar location for a similar vibe in a similar way to get a similar result.
Absolutely.
And then you've got kind of a thriving business. Yes. Right. That's amazing. Well, I really respect one of the things that you said about self-awareness. And I think that that objectivity and people being able to just be real, and I like how you described it as this being an honest business. Talk to me about some of the things where you've either seen or experienced or recognized in yourself that you're like, I wasn't really self-aware enough.
As a chef, you feel like you can open up a restaurant and be successful right away because I'm a chef, but chefs are actually the ones who fail more than anybody else in the restaurant business because they let their pride get in the way, or they let, I want to use the best of the ingredients just, because you're a chef, you feel like you have to do these things because you're a chef.
It's a creative outlet.
It's a creative outlet, but that doesn't always equal profits in the business, right? And you got to learn the business side. If you're not good at it, you have to be able to adapt and learn. If you're not good at social media, you need to be able to adapt and learn instead of just saying, I'm not good at it, or I don't know how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, pay somebody to do it, or learn how to do it. There's ways to do it. You have YouTube these days that teaches you everything you possibly can, right? And it just being, you have to be able to adapt and also know when to ask for help. I've been in this business a long time. Throughout opening Birdies, I've had probably 5 mentors. Every day I'm like calling, asking questions like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? Like, I have this menu made. Can you look at it? Like, what do you think of this price point? Just picking brains. Like, there's people all around you who done this before, who has been successful before. Don't be afraid to ask, because there's no stupid question. You're not going to look stupid. Don't be too prideful to like ask for help.
Oh, that is so good.
And some people are just too prideful of that, and I've learned that, that's, as a businessman, you gotta be able to adapt. You always have to be able to learn and keep learning, because things keep changing. Foods change, the trends change, everything keeps changing. And if you don't stay innovative or stay with the trend, or you got to keep digging. You can't just say I'm done and be done with it, because you know what? If I do that, this restaurant will be gone in 5 years.
Yeah.
Then I have to create I have to do it all over again. Why do that? You got to keep on going and, stay on top of it, and that's the only way.
So something that I think is a self-awareness issue that a lot of business owners, not just restaurateurs, but business owners really struggle with is deciding what their job is versus what somebody else's job is.
Exactly.
And when to keep it in-house and when to outsource it. How do you kind of create those thresholds and make those decisions?
To me, sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, so we can repeat it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that entrepreneurs really struggle with, and not just restaurateurs, is what is your job versus someone else's, because you can have your fingers in all the pies.
Absolutely.
And then the other one is when to hire somebody to do it, or when to use an agency or somebody else, or an outsourced, like uniforms, for example, or getting carpets cleaned out and hiring the Centoses of the world. It's like, oh man, no, I'm gonna wash these instead of replacing them. Or, those are some of the struggles that people face. So what are some of the thresholds that you have in your mind?
You got to kind of pick your battles, right? Like, what is the most important thing that to me or to the business, because a lot of people do it for the sake of, just to, feel better for themselves, you know what I mean? For selfish reasons. Like, I'm going to do that because I feel better when I do it instead of you doing it. But that's not always the most important thing for the business, because, for me, if I'm sitting there frying chicken on the line, that's what the worst thing I can possibly do, because that's a, hourly, $15 an hour job. If I'm me as a business owner sitting there frying chicken, there's a problem, because there's so many more other important things in the business than frying that chicken. That means I've done a horrible job training, or, something is not right, So it's just knowing what's important to me. So to me, when I was a chef, when I was a chef at a fine dining restaurant, I can't cook everything, right? But there are certain things I can control. What's important, like the protein, like breaking down the protein myself is important, because you're going to save money by, having the less waste, right? I can make the stocks, because that's the foundation for all the sauces. If the stock is wrong, the sauces is going to be wrong. So, those picking what is important, so that I have to do, but, and consolidating those work that, what your team can do. But also, it's all about awareness. Like, what is your team, capable of doing? If they're not capable of doing it, you should probably outsource this for that job. But for me, it all kind of comes back to awareness, like, what is your team capable of doing, and putting in the time to train those people if they're doing the job, and really taking the time, training them, because training is everything. And once you train them, it's not done. You got to go back and, retrain and constantly stay on top of it, because those are the people who are cooking your food and operating your business.
Those are the things that slip.
Yeah.
What was something
that slip?
What was one of the things that you sort of woke up and said, I shouldn't be doing this. Someone else should be doing this?
And, because I'm a chef, my natural instincts is go towards the kitchen.
Yeah.
But that is just my natural, because that's where I feel comfortable. I know I can operate it, but, that's the worst thing you can do as a chef, because if I'm there cooking the food, who is managing my staff, who is managing the pace, who's managing the food waste and everything that is so much more important than just that one dish, right? And to me, that was the hardest part, because my natural instinct just always pushes me back to the kitchen.
Go to the kitchen.
But I just have to take a step back and make sure my team's trained well and that trust them, but also make sure we follow back and reassure every once in a while that it is going in the same system that I've created.
Okay. Well, that's good. Well, I have some rapid fire questions for you now.
All right.
What was the last dinner you ate out, and how would you rate it?
Last dinner was last night at the Bull in the Alley in Tulsa. I had a porterhouse steak with some shrimp cocktail and crab cakes, and it was delicious. I don't know if you've ever been there, but Tulsa, next to the tavern, it's called Bull in the Alley.
Okay.
It's literally an alley. There's no sign. There's a gold bull that's hanging on top of the door. It's a small little steakhouse that seats about 50 people, but it is delicious.
How would you rate it?
10 out of 10.
All right. There you go, dude. Well, what are the first three things I'll always find if I open your fridge at the house?
I'm Korean, right? So I don't know if you guys know what kimchi is. Kimchi is a fermented spicy cabbage dish. And that's something that's always in there. Topo Chico.
All right.
I love Topo Chico. Any kind of sparkling water. Because I used to love drinking soda and I could never break it, but Topo Chico changed my life.
There you go. Love that.
And what else do I always have in my fridge? I love apples.
All right. I love that. Well, let's talk about sushi for a second.
Okay.
What do you think? What's your opinion of cream cheese and sushi?
Cream cheese and sushi, I think it's delicious.
You do?
I don't knock it at all.
You don't?
To me, cream cheese and salmon, love it.
Love it?
Yeah.
What about, do you ever eat the ginger and the wasabi?
I do.
You do?
I'm a big wasabi guy.
Okay.
Big wasabi guy.
I love it. I've never heard somebody say I'm a big wasabi guy. That's really good.
Yeah. I'm not, I mean, I literally, it's half wasabi, half soy sauce.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, let's say I have one night in Vegas. What restaurant am I going to?
One night in Vegas.
And what should I order?
There's a restaurant called Hobak.
Okay.
And Hobak in Korean means pumpkin. So I don't know why it's called Hobak, but it's a Korean barbecue restaurant. It's a Korean steakhouse experience. So you go there, there's a set of you can basically pick from A, B, or C. And they'll have a marinated short rib with some ribeyes, with some pork belly, and all these different things on there. It comes with 20 different side dishes, lettuce wraps, some stews, and an egg souffle. But it's an experience. And my goal eventually is to bring that kind of a concept, the Korean steakhouse concept, to Oklahoma also. So
I love that idea.
That is the next that is my dream restaurant, and hopefully we can do that here pretty soon.
All right. Couple more. What's one thing that I can cook or do to impress my friends the next time I have them over for dinner?
That you can cook?
Yeah. That anybody can cook.
Anybody can cook?
Yeah.
Let's see. Pasta. Tomato basil sauce pasta. But it's all about time. You making sure you use fresh garlic, making the fresh herbs, fresh basil, fresh tomato. But it's all about just sitting there and stirring. You can literally throw everything in a pot and stir for hours, and it'll turn out awesome.
That's great.
Anybody can do that.
What was the thing that most confused you about Oklahoma?
Most confused me about Oklahoma. The flatland. I'm from Seattle. I mean, we got hills everywhere, mountains everywhere. And they told me the Wichita Mountain was a mountain. I was like, no, that's a hill.
Yes. Wow.
But I love Oklahoma. I love people here. I love everything about it. I really enjoy living in Oklahoma. I wouldn't live anywhere else in America.
Oh man, that's a big statement.
Yeah.
All right, last question. This is a non-food question.
Okay.
Let's say that I'm able to call Kevin Lee on the phone right now, but it's Kevin Lee 2002.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you want to tell him and warn him about?
I 2002. I grew up playing competitive golf. I was pretty good at one point, but I really, I wish I had a little bit of direction. I wish I would have knew more about life at the time. I think I would have had a better chance. But just work hard, put your head down and work hard. Don't, just work hard, because at the end of the day, like, to me, like, I never switched my career throughout my whole life, and I always kind of stuck to one thing. And there were times that were really hard, but at the end of the day, like, when you do one thing for a long time, you get really good at it. There will be light at the end of that tunnel, and I feel like generation these days, younger guys these days, they're too quick to change their career all the time. Oh, I did it for 2-3 years. I don't like it. Or do this for a couple of years. So I think that's a job, right? And there's definitely better jobs than others. But I think if you really stick to one thing and if you duke it out, at the end, like, there will be light and you will be very successful at what you do. So
pick something and commit to it. Love
pick something and commit to it.
Well, I don't know what to say. I'm super thankful that you came on the show and having a conversation with us. I have to say I'm super hungry now. But as we kind of sign off here, tell everybody where to find Birdies.
Birdies will be on the corner of Northwest 150th and Penn in Edmond, Oklahoma. You'll see a big old light shining. It's not hard to find. But it's fried chicken concept with, great food, great people, good environment, fun environment. So you guys can all come out and enjoy some good fried chicken.
Well, there you go.
Fried chicken.
Okay. Double. Well, what's next after that?
I don't know yet. Hopefully we can open more Birdies. We really want to focus on this, first location, obviously. It's been a long time coming. I was talking to my wife a couple of days ago. We're like, you talked about this when we first got married, and it was like 10 years ago, and it's finally coming together, what I've envisioned. And it's really exciting. I'm nervous, obviously, but, I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be great. And, I'm ready to work, to, really make this work. So
that's awesome. Well, best of luck to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks
Thank
for coming.
you.